Good day everyone, and thank you for joining me today. In this presentation, I will be discussing my rationale on the interactive digital learning resource I designed for this module. This resource is based on an interactive interview with renowned artist Yayoi Kusama. I created it using a combination of softwares such as Canva and H5P, and it is specifically designed to be accessible, engaging, and educational. As I walk you through this presentation, I will highlight my design process, key challenges, theoretical frameworks I used, the learner feedback, and the professional growth I experienced while working on this project. This rationale serves as a reflection on both the educational and creative aspects of this project. To begin, this project was aimed at creating an interactive multimedia resource to help students with special educational needs engage with the life and art of Yayoi Kusama. The target audience for this resource consists of students aged 11 to 18 in a STEM setting. The idea behind this project was to use the interactive format of an interview where Kusama answers questions posed by the learners. And this format encourages engagement, as students can control what questions they want to ask, allowing them to take charge of their learning experience. This resource was created using a combination of Canva, Adobe Captivate, and H5P, which provided the functionality I needed to make the experience interactive. I am looking forward to discuss my approach to designing the resource, how I address the needs of my learners, the instructional theories that informed my decisions, and the overall learning impact. The design of this learning resource was driven primarily by the diverse and unique needs of the learners in my special educational needs class. These students have a variety of learning preferences and challenges, and creating a resource that could cater to these varied needs was crucial. Many of my students are visual learners, which means they retain information more effectively when it's presented in a visual format. And as a result, I knew the resource had to be highly visual, with engaging animations and clear icons to guide the students through the content. And along with the visual learning, many of my students face attention challenges, such as those with ADHD or social, emotional, and mental health difficulties. And these students often struggle to maintain focus for extended periods, so the resources needed to be short and digestible, with engaging interactive elements that would help sustain their attention throughout the lesson. Furthermore, some of the students experience difficulties with reading, particularly those with dyslexia and autism spectrum disorder. For these learners, traditional text-based resources can be quite overwhelming, so I made sure to include a voiceover and simplified language to ensure accessibility. Additionally, students on the autism spectrum often thrive in environments with clear structure and predictability. Therefore, I ensured that the interface of the resource was simple, intuitive, and easy to navigate. The ability to engage with the content at their own pace was another crucial consideration. Students could move through the interview in their own time, with the flexibility to revisit sections or answers as they needed. This is not only catered to their individual learning speeds, but also gave them the autonomy to explore the content in a way that suited their needs. The design of this digital resource was informed by several established instructional design models. One of the primary models that guided the development was the ADI model, which stands for Analyze, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluate, provided the structured approach to creating the resource. In the analysis phase, I identified specific needs of my students, which helped shape the design process and decisions. The design phase allowed me to create a blueprint for the resource, determining what type of content would be more engaging and accessible, and the development phase saw the actual creation of the resource. while implementation involved testing it with the learners. Finally, evaluation was key in assessing the effectiveness of the resource, both through feedback and quiz at the end of the module. Alongside the ADDIE model, I also incorporated Gagne's 9 events of instructions into the design process. These 9 events focus on the essential steps that must occur to create effective learning experiences. These steps include gaining learners' attention, providing learning objectives, and ensuring feedback retention. And for example, I ensured the video at the beginning of the resource grabbed the learner's attention with bright visuals and a lively introduction. The rest of the content was designed to present clear learning objectives, helping students to understand what they were about to learn. And additionally, towards the end of the video, I included an interactive quiz to check understanding and provide feedback, ensuring that students could actively participate in the learning process. Lastly, I applied Universal Design for Learning Principles, UDL, to ensure that the resource was accessible to all learners regardless of their abilities. And UDL focuses on providing multiple means of engagement, representation, and expression. For example, I used different forms of media, auditory, visual, and interactive elements to engage learners in different ways. Some learners might prefer reading, some may benefit from hearing the information. There were several design decisions that played a critical role in making the resource effective for SEN students. One of the most important decisions was to make the interview interactive. Rather than simply watching a video of Yayoi Kusama talking about her life and art, students could choose the question they wanted to ask. This interactive feature allowed the learners to choose a path they're interested the most. By giving them the power to interact with the content, I hoped to keep them engaged and invested in the learning process. To ensure that the resource was accessible to all learners, I included several accessibility features, such as voiceovers and subtitles. For students with reading difficulties, the voiceover provided an alternative means of understanding the content, while the subtitles allowed the students to follow along. This multimodal approach was designed so that no learner is left behind. The visuals used in the resource was designed to be bold, clear, and highly visual, which helped students with learning difficulties better engage with the material. The non-linear structure of the resource was another important design choice. Rather than having students passively watch video from beginning to end, they could navigate the content on their own terms. This self-paced, interactive approach gave students the autonomy to explore Kusama's life and art at their own speed, ensure that they could revisit sections if they needed more time to understand certain concepts. The quiz at the end of the resource provided an additional opportunity for learners to reflect on what they have learned, reinforcing key points and helping them retain information. Creating this digital learning resource was not without its challenges. One of the major issues I encountered was visual overstimulation. Given the nature of the content and the intended audience, I needed to be cautious about the amount of visual input I was including. And while bright visuals and animation can be engaging, too much can actually overwhelm SEN students, particularly those with ASD or ADHD. To resolve this, I toned down the animations and used more subtle and calming colors. And photographs too. I also ensured that the transitions between sections were smooth and not too jarring, minimizing any potential anxiety for the students. Another challenge I faced was actually the technical limitation of the tools I used, such as what I encountered in Canva or H5P. While they offered many useful features, it also had a steep learning curve. I had to spend a significant amount of time experimenting with all these tools to learn how to make the interactive features I wanted to work. And as expected, I also encountered a few bugs along the way, which delayed the process. However, through persistence and quite a lot of self teaching, I was able to overcome these hurdles and deliver a fully functional demo of the resource. Finally, balancing creativity with clarity was another challenge to me. As an art teacher, I wanted to create something visually striking and engaging, but I had to be mindful of the fact that the primary goal was educational. Ensuring that the interface was intuitive and easy to navigate was crucial to the success of the resource. I spent a great deal of time refining the design, refining what it looked like to ensure that it was both creative and accessible. In the end, I believe I was able to strike a balance between engaging visuals and a clear, structured layout. Once the resource was ready, I tested it with a group of students, and the feedback I received was overwhelmingly positive. Students particularly enjoyed the interactive aspects of the interview. Being able to choose their questions and navigate the content independently helped them feel more engaged and in control of their learning. The bright visuals, along with the voiceover, it was very well received, and students appreciated the accessibility features. The quiz at the end of the video was another highlight for many students. It provided a fun way for them to test their understanding and reinforce the key points covered in the interview. This project has been an incredibly valuable experience for my professional development. Not only did I learn how to use new tools like Adobe Captivate, but I also gained a deeper understanding of instructional design. I learned how to integrate educational theory into practical design decisions, ensuring that my resource met the needs of my students while still be creative and engaging. Furthermore, this project has reinforced my passion for inclusive, creative digital learning, and I now see myself not just as a teacher, but as a digital learning designer, someone who can combine creativity with pedagogy to create meaningful, accessible learning experiences for all learners. In conclusion, this project has been an enriching and rewarding experience. It has given me the opportunity to reflect on how digital tools can transform creative learning experiences for students with special needs. By applying instructional design models such as ADDIE, Genius 9 events, and UDL, I was able to create a resource that was not only engaging but also accessible and educational. Going forward, I plan to continue exploring the intersection of digital learning and creative education, always striving to create inclusive, meaningful learning experiences. Thank you.